Hi, everybody. It's Mark again, and I hope that you're learning the Cuckoo Clock for Beginners video set that I'm doing. The last time we talked about a one-day Herbert Hur movement that was sold by the Welby Corporation, and the Welby Corporation was created in 1956 as part of um, a watch company, a spinoff of a watch company. Elgin, I believe. I could be wrong on that. Sorry. But I'm still going to do um, a video on putting that clock back together. But I touch bases on a issue on what happens when a clock goes in warning. So this video is going to be a video on what happens when a clock goes in warning. I get the question every so often, so I just want to make a specific video on what happens when a cuckoo clock goes into warning. So stay tuned, and I hope we learn something. And by the way, I put a ceiling fan up today, so I'm not finished with it, but I do have a different light, so hopefully the new ceiling fan helps out my videos. Now, like I said, I get this question all the time about what happens when a clock goes into warning, and why I tell you when you set up your clock that you want to make sure that the gong lever is not touching the pin on the 8-point star wheel. It needs to be a little bit of space off of that 8-point star wheel. And I figured this out one day because I had a clock that around 5 minutes before it's supposed to chime, it would gong one time. And I like, what the heck is it doing? And this is why it does that. It would still gong and cuckoo properly, but about 5 minutes till the half hour or the hour, it would gong one time. And this is the reason why. And we're going to use this Herbert Hur movement that I'm working on to discuss this. And for those people who watched my video all the way, you might catch on to something that you didn't catch on to in the first part of the video, on the last video. I read a book years ago while I was in the military. It's How to Develop a Super Powerful Memory by Harry S. Lorraine. And in that in that book, one of the things he mentions is if you read something more than once, you'll catch on to it. So in this case, if you're watching something more than once, hopefully you'll catch on to it. But after the clock cuckoos, what happens is the third wheel warning pin hits the rack stop lever. Again, this is a Herbert Hur movement. If I was to pull out a regular movement, this is the rack stop lever. This is the lift lock lever. This is the minute wheel with center. Minute arbor with center wheel. It's the same parts on the movements. It's just that they're designed differently. So the third wheel warning pin hits this tab on the rack stop lever. The pin on the rack stop lever goes into the cam with gathering pin, or what I call Pac-Man. When the clock goes into warning, that third wheel that pin on that third wheel with that pin on that third wheel warning wheel, it drops out of the way from the tab on the rack stop lever, and it now hits the tab on the lift lock lever. And because I have the parts out of the way on this movement, I'm going to show you the tab on the regular. Here's the tab that it would hit on a regular movement. And that tab has to be bent just right, because if that tab is not bent right, it prevents the clock from going into warning. It also prevents the clock from cuckooing properly, so it has to be bent just right. And so when the clock goes into warning, the minute arbor center wheel, it has these two tabs I was telling you about. A long tab for the hour and a short tab for the half hour. When it goes into warning, it's because one of those two tabs is lifting the lift lock lever. And if that arm on the lift lock lever, if it has spread apart, that it won't be able to lift all this stuff up, because the lift lock lever has to lift the rack stop lever. And if the tabs are bent too far apart, it can't properly lift the rack stop lever. So anyway, when it goes into warning, it is lifting the rack stop lever, and then the third wheel with warning pin is now hitting the tab on the lift lock lever. And we're going to see if I can bring in some light on this situation by using this magnifying glass so you could see what's going on. You should be able to see, look down here in this hole, and I'm going to move the gears, and you could see the third wheel warning pin is hitting that tab. So as the clock continues to tick away, the minute center, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble thinking today. It's my medicine from installing the ceiling fan. But anyway, this minute arbor center wheel, it will rotate, and those tabs that lift it up will allow it to drop. But in this case, something was sticking it. But when it allows it to drop, you see that? It allows it to drop, and now the pin can continue to spin to allow the cuckoo to cuckoo. We're going to do it one more time, and this time it's going to be on the hour, because the hour tab, like I said, is longer. So I'm turning it with the stick because I don't have all the other parts on. And so as it goes into warning, the third wheel with warning pin can now rotate. Instead of hitting this tab up here, instead of hitting the tab up here, it's hitting the tab on the lift lock lever. And hopefully you could see that tab on the lift lock lever. I'm going to try to move the third wheel warning pin on the third wheel around so you could see that pin. I just can't seem to grab a hold of the thing. You see the pin? You should be able to see the pin. So now it's hitting that tab. And as the clock continues to tick, it's going to allow the lift lock lever to drop. If I can get this stupid thing to drop, it's bent. I use this to show people stuff. So it allows it to drop, so it allows it to cuckoo. Now we're going to go back to this Herbert Herb movement so I could show you it in action. So the third wheel warning pin is hitting the tab on the rack stop lever. And as it goes into warning, watch it, I get that stick out of the way. As it goes into warning, it dropped from there, and now it's hitting the tab that you can't see because I have all this other stuff, but it's hitting the tab on the lift lock lever. And as I continue to, and also when it went into warning, the lift lock lever dropped on the rack. And so as the clock continues to tick, it moves out of the way and it allows it to cuckoo. But I want to show you this. This is the gong lever. It's barely missing the pins on the on what is considered the 8-point star wheel. And let me see. Yeah, I'm gonna try to show you it with this movement. That way you can watch these 8-point star wheels. As it goes into warning, you will see, pay attention to one of these tabs. As it goes into warning, I need to put a nut on this or grab a different movement. Let's see if I have a different movement available. I don't. Stand by, let me put a nut on this so I can turn this harbor. As you can see, I now have a nut on here so I can turn this arbor. So currently the third wheel warning pin is caught by the rack stop lever. But watch what happens. Let's say you focus on this pin right here. As I turn, as I turn the minute arbor, when it goes into warning, you see the 8-point star wheel moved a little bit. And it's because it's in warning, and the gear moves, which causes the 8-point star wheel to move. So if I was to turn this 8-point star wheel and make the tab that touches the 8-point star wheel touch the 8-point star wheel after the clock is done cuckooing, when the clock goes into warning, it will cuckoo one time. And when it gets out of warning, it's not working right because this tab, this lift lock lever, is not dropping. But so I will show you on this Herb movement. I need 3 hands. As it gets out of warning, the clock will cuckoo. But when it goes into warning, we're going to do it on this movement. Focus on one of the pens, and I'm going to turn the minute arbor. Did you see it move? So therefore, what I'm getting at is when you set up your clock, make sure that the gong tab that catches the 8-point star wheel tabs is not touching the 8-point star wheel tabs, or your clock will strike the gong when the clock goes into warning. I'm sorry, I was having a little technical issues there. I do video chats with people all the time, and I have movements sitting on my desk that are strictly for these video chats, and so they're not movements that I have to go into a clock. They're movements that I've taken out of a clock, but I just haven't got around to put them back into the clock. So anyway, the whole purpose of this video is when you set up your clock to put it in time, and this is what I call setting up a clock to put it in time, the gong lever cannot be touching the 8-point star wheel tab, whether you have an 8-point star wheel tab that is inside the plates, or whether you have an 8-point star wheel tab that's on the regular vintage modern movements, or whether you have an 8-point star wheel tab that is like this AMS movement here, where it's actually stars versus pens. Because if it is touching when the clock goes into warning, that 8-point star wheel rotates just a little bit, but it will allow your clock to gong just a little bit. And the reason why it allows it to gong just a little bit, even though it might still be touching the pen, as most of the time when you set up your gongs, they have just maybe a paper width of clearance between the hammer and the gong itself. Anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Hopefully the next video we'll get back into working on this Herbert Hur one-day movement that was sold by the Welby Corporation. And again, the reason why I bought this movement is because Popo Cuckoo Clocks, and I've got videos on Popo Cuckoo Clocks, so I don't think I will do a video presentation in this video series on Popo Cuckoo Clocks, because I had plenty of videos on repairing Popo Cuckoo Clocks. But Popo Cuckoo Clocks are designed, every time the bird comes out of the case, it trips the music. Most all German clocks have an arm on the lift lock lever, and that arm trips the music into action, such as the East Meckenbecker Farmer's Daughter's Clock, where it's got the arm that pulls a wire to trip it, or the East Meckenbecker Woodsman's Clock, or anyway, there's an arm that trips the music, and not the cuckoo bird itself. And this is why I was fascinated about this clock, is because I saw this shaft being bent, touching the music trip lever, and that is why I purchased this clock. So anyway, keep watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, the notification, and the subscribe button. Please leave me some comments. Let me know what you think of my new lights. Let me know what you think of my videos. If it's negative, I can take criticism, but make sure it's professional criticism. Because if you get on here and start bad-mouthing me, if you're a subscriber to my channel, I'm going to block you. And if you're not a subscriber to my channel, I'm just going to delete the comment, because I'm here to teach people, and I spend a lot of time, because I have two different groups that I'm the admin for. I spend a lot of time video chatting with people or answering people's questions. And so I must be doing something right, as the song says, because people are asking about me and people are coming to me to ask me questions. Anyway, stay tuned for the next video. And I'm not for sure when I'll do it, because of my back from me putting up that ceiling fan. May God bless each and every one of you. Anyway, I want you to stay tuned for my next video. We are going to learn something together, because I'm going to try to do that video on finished repair of the Welby Corporation Cuckoo Clock with music box. And so together we're going to learn stuff. So stay tuned for the next video. And again, may God bless each and every one of you.